For the last 25 years, I've really had a heart for the workplace. My background is in the investment business. I've sold stocks and bonds in my prior career, and about 12 years ago, a good friend of mine that owned a financial planning firm called Financial Architects suggested that I move into his office. He knew my situation, that I needed a new office in which to work in, so he invited me in. Almost immediately we began to think, how could we have an impact on this workplace?
The real challenge that Roger presented me with one day is, Ken, what are you doing intentionally to reach your office for Christ? And I was taken back by that. I said, well, I'm a nice guy, and people know I go to church, and I kind of weave spiritual language into the conversation, and I got you here. And he said, no, I'm not talking about that. What are you doing, Ken, intentionally to leverage the relationship you have here with your workmates so that you can raise the flag for Christ? And I had no answer.
As Ken and I discussed some ideas of what we could do, one thing we both felt is that we had to do some Bible reading groups.
Scared the daylights out of me
Yeah.
when you said it. I said, no, there's got to be something else. Can we get a magazine, or maybe watch a video?
Right.
Or can we just invite him to a church,
Right.
musical or
Right.
something like
Right.
that?
I really believe in the power of the Word of God. And if I can get the Word of God into my community, into my workplace, into my neighborhood, the Word of God will really change people's hearts in a way that I never could.
I have to tell you that I didn't believe you, but I trusted you.
We started by reading the Gospel of John.
We got together in a real small conference room, and Roger had made copies of the Bible passage that we were going to look at.
I noticed on one of the other guys' schedules he had a Bible study on there, and I had no idea what that was. And one day I got invited by Ken to the Bible study, and in my mind I kind of made fun of it, I think. We're going to hold hands and candles will be going and we'll be kumbaya and so forth.
So we sat down and we promised the guys 30 minutes. Just come on in for 30 minutes, let's go through this. The third time we had done it, these guys said, hey, could we go a little longer on this? We're just getting into the good stuff. Could we go? And we'd sit there like, oh, sure, no problem. They'd leave and we'd go, are you kidding? They want to go longer. And then 2 months later, one of the guys goes, well, it's really nice that you hand out like those photocopies of the Bible. I wonder if I could get a Bible. Oh, sure, you can get a Bible. They'd leave, the thing would be over, we'd look at each other and go, huh? And you could not have orchestrated it.
I was raised Lutheran. We went to church every Christmas. The other weekends we might have missed, but we made it.
I guess my first recollection of Christianity was more about what I couldn't do and what I shouldn't do. Most of the things on that list about what I shouldn't do were the things I enjoyed doing. And I was pretty good at it. To me, it was not attractive. Jesus was attractive. Christianity itself as a way of life, I just didn't have any attractive models.
When I met you, Roger, it just completely changed my life. It made it real, and having the support and the faith that I can wake up every day with, it's just so powerful.
Kevin joined Financial Architects about 10, 11 years ago.
As a then single dad, in a position where I was getting a divorce, which was not my plan in life. Life was chaotic. I was lost. Nothing worked. I didn't know where to go. I was at the end of my rope. I tied a knot on it and I was hanging on.
Kevin came to the Bible reading group and began to see Jesus in a new way.
I was searching, didn't know it at the time, right? I was searching. And, over time in conversations at that office at Financial Architects, I woke up and Ken walked me through it. I can honestly say on January 7th of 2002, something happened to me. I woke up, I'll never forget, I had the feeling and I had that awakening like, you know, he was right there. I started to develop that intimate relationship, which I think is what really this is all about.
And this man that ran a massive company that never should have been a financial architect in the first place, at that moment in time, I realized that God had a plan and a purpose for Kevin and Ken to encounter.
Through that time, you of course introduced me to Roger, to Chappie. And it's been unbelievable the time that we've spent with him.
And now Kevin Knipe has his own ministry at his own office, and it continues, it perpetuates. It's the exponential growth of the kingdom.
It doesn't take a paid professional to do this. Anybody can do this. Anybody can sit down with a small group of people and read through John chapter 1 together. Anybody can meet with somebody at a restaurant at 7 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, would it be okay if we just took John chapter 3 and read about 15 verses together? And we, of course, would like to see this movement grow to many, many other people's office settings, workplace settings, just a whole group of ordinary men and women just sowing the Word of God in their community, with their relatives, with their friends, through their church.
We now have a small group that meets in our home. And I guess what I'm watching occur is the exponential growth of the gospel.
What's really happened with all these guys, they've taken their new faith to their family and to the neighborhood. So the multiplication of this has been really exciting.
From the relationship at work and the relationship with Chappie and becoming a small group, and now the women in the small group really have our own group. The group is life-changing for us.
This encounter with God 10 to 15 years ago in terms of looking at the workplace as my neighborhood, it's given a whole new meaning to why to come to work. Before, people were actually a means to my end. And they were here so I could accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, so therefore I needed to treat them right. Eventually I came to realize that they were actually my end, so my workmates was why I was here.
For me to become involved in faith at the office wasn't that strange because I really didn't know anything else.
The old paradigm was come to church, become a Christian. The new paradigm is become a Christian, go to church.
Church was his conference room. Church was his office. Church was the Big Boy restaurant and or the Caribou Coffee. Church was everywhere but.
There are certain things that I'm really good at. There's certain things that Roger's really good at. And that's that teaming up approach. That's that partnering approach. I always phrase it that my spiritual gift is the gift of influence. And now I realize it's not influence to run a successful business for the means of financial capital. No. It's the gift of influence so I can invade the lives of people and invest in their spiritual capital. We're still serious as a heart attack when it comes to work. We know why we're here. It's to serve clients and do well for our stakeholders. But work and the company actually became a means to support that relationship as opposed to the people supporting my company.
And I have found that once I had a team of players working together, I was so much more effective. Ken was more effective. When I think now about what happened 12 years ago and then going forward for the rest of my life, I want to have teammates to do the ministry now for the rest of my life.